Hey, I'm Heather Furby with Casa Luna Canines. Hey, I know I've gotten lots of response from folks that are in the class asking questions about reactivity. Gotten a couple things like, hey, too many emails, which I get. It's just part of product launch that we inundate you with emails and we'll drop back down to our newsletter till the next launch. It's just the way it goes. So for those of you that are interested, I wanted to give you a little bit more information on reactivity. For those of you that decided this course is not for you, totally okay. Just some free training. One of the things that we get into with dog training, I hear all the time, these questions, like the ones that came in, is what's the best way to redirect or divert my dog? How do I distract my dog and have them focus on me rather than the thing that's distracting them? And then also, what's the timing so I don't end up rewarding the wrong thing? So those are great questions. They all basically are asking, how do I stop reactivity? And the thing with it we do as humans, which is innate to us, is we look at a situation and be like, how do I figure out that one situation? Well, we've got to break it back down to what's causing that situation, right? So here's my human example. Sports, you don't just get to decide you want to play a sport, and then you go on the field and you're the best player ever. I mean, okay, there's like one or two, but it takes practice. It takes learning the rules. It takes learning the body mechanics. It's getting my mind and my body physically fit, understanding what are the expectations when I'm playing that sport. I don't care if it's pickup game of basketball or professional level soccer, volleyball. So we train for a situation, not in the situation. Same thing we do in dog training. We want to train for the situation, not in the situation. So if your dog's already in that red zone, their brain's already flipped, there's not a lot you can do to distract, redirect, or divert their energy at that point. It's the equivalent of, again, to use humans, if I'm in a fight and I'm feeling really riled up and passionate and I just can't, whatever, I don't care what this is. I can't control myself. My emotional bucket is full, which we talked about in the first training video on the ABCs. So my bucket's full. I'm not thinking straight. And you come up and offer me a great steak dinner with a glass of champagne. I'm not going to immediately go, oh, well, good point. I'm just going to go over here and get my champagne. I'm going to say, I don't want the food. Like, I just need to get this settled. I need time to calm down. You got to ask for space so I can then let go and be ready to eat. But if you shove that in my face while I'm being angry, I'm just going to get angry at the person that delivered the steak. And then I'm going to get angry at the person who got mad at me for being too mad. And then I'm going to get angry at being angry. And the cycle keeps going. So very similar with your dogs, which is why I want to keep emphasizing, as we train for reactivity, we're training for a situation, not in the situation. We start that by figuring out the behaviors that we want. And then we go to what's called level 1, area of distraction. Could be your garage, what I train in, or, I don't know, your kitchen, someplace if there's no other distractions that your dog's really familiar with. Well, we introduce the games and the wanted behavior in those areas where it's nice and contained and I can control the environment. And then gradually we go to level 2, 3, 4. I want to jump to level 5 is real world situations where we can't control the situation. It's the dog park. I'm out on a walk on the city streets. I'm at the big box store. I brought my dog in. We should only be in those situations when we've got 100% confidence that both us and the dog can handle it. Dogs actually don't work through immersion therapy. Or all it usually does is increase the energy, because humans on edge, dogs on edge, that creates energy. I'm yanking the leash, creates more energy. I pull the dog, creates more energy. Dog doesn't know what's expected, creates more energy. That person walks by with the steak to be like, oh, nice doggy, and wham, the unexpected person gets bit. So we've got to go back and realize we have to train bit by bit for the situation. We've got to figure out how to work with our dog's brain to teach them how to be calm in a calm environment, that they actually do have the choice of how to act. So when we train for this situation, not in the situation, we're also training us so that I'm not walking all stiff and anticipating what's happening down the road. And so I see another dog. I know my dog is going to react because history has proven that's what they do. So I yank on that leash just when we see the other dog. Now my dog goes, whoa, that was uncomfortable. That dog must be scary. I'm going to react a little sooner, and we help create this reactivity chain. So one of the other questions I got was, what's the timing so I don't end up rewarding the wrong thing? That's a great one, because we want to think of rewards as just that. This is silly. As rewards, as opposed to luring and distracting and diverting. So you've got to wait for your dog to perform the behavior that you want, not distract them from the behavior you don't want. And you can't do that if we haven't practiced in those level 1 areas where your dog actually knows what's expected. So the behavior happens, we reward it, but then we're rewarding for that behavior, not rewarding the barking behavior. And it's a subtle difference, but that's why we work with this reactivity training, is to get your timing down. And I'll show you all the different games so that you know what the behavior is you're looking for. Because if we're just waiting for our dog to stop barking at whatever it's barking at, or stop growling or stop fighting, sit there and then be like, okay, now I can't reward because they're still in that weird state of mind. So I could be out there for like an hour or 2 waiting for my dog to relax, and that's not going to work. So we got to train for the situation back at home, gradually build up, and then I'm not in that situation of trying to figure out what's that split second I've got to reward, because my dog is used to being rewarded for nice, calm behavior, and therefore it doesn't get to the point of reactivity. Now, I know that sounds impossible for some of you, but it really is the chain of reactivity that works with dogs. And somebody asked also, what's the best way to keep your dog in learned behaviors when they're away from teaching in class? And that is also a great thing when we're talking about reactivity, because the thing to remember is your dog is always learning, whether or not you're around. And in fact, 80% of what they learn is when you're not around. So that's why we want to keep reinforcing the behaviors we want, and then keep our dog's behavior managed and contained when we're not around to control them. So again, that comes back to training for the situation. If your dog can't get into a bunch of stuff because they're crate trained, because they have a limited area that they can act in, they have to stop making choices so their brain gets to be nice and relaxed. And then when we do work with them, we're working to increase their brain capacity to have more focus and grit and tolerance of frustration and calm, confidence, like all the behaviors we want, we train for those. And if we're not actively training, let's not allow our dogs to go rule the world and have free access to everything. So the more we can contain and limit their access at the beginning when we're training, the more they're not going to go around and make all these crazy choices that then we're trying to undo and figure out, how do I stop that? How do I stop that? How do I stop that? Just bring all the world in, make it a little smaller. Let's deal with one piece at a time. So all this relates to those ABCs, the association, bit by bit, consistency, the emotional bucket when it's full. We've got to drain all of that, drain ourselves so that we're nice and ready to learn for the situation, not in the situation, and then we introduce the training games. So I hope I see some more of you in the course. Course is still open. We do have a couple spots left. Also want to point out, you've been staring at Luna. That's one of my paintings. I think I did it as sip and paint. I just wanted to show off my little world. So anyway, I hope that was informative. Let me know again if you have other questions. Keep following up, and we'll see you in Chaos to Calm, a formula for training reactive dogs.